So the title for my topic is the 3 characteristics that you can't teach a salesperson. But before going into them, I want to tell you all a little bit about my backstory. So I was born into a single parent household, living with my mother and my sister, which inherently made me the man of the house, you could say. So I onboarded this onus of responsibility to be a provider and someone that my family could rely on. Generally, I had a positive upbringing, but my mother was big on education. So we went to great schools and engaged in a range of different sports and activities. But with that said, it wasn't without hardship, to the extent where for a number of years, I shared a single bed while living in my aunt's house, just in order to get by. This early adversity ignited a desire in me to want more from my life, so I kickstarted multiple business ventures. The first being a professional gaming team on Call of Duty, where we competed all across Europe. It certainly wasn't a bad gig getting paid to play video games for a living while I was in my teenage years, you could say. And following on from this, I had a number of additional ventures, including an eBay store, which I started when I was age 13, where I used to buy, refurbish, and resell phones. By the age of 16, to the amusement of many of my friends, I was selling fries at McDonald's. And as funny as this was to my peers, I was hungry, not literally, but to earn money and to make a success of myself. So a few years on from that, I was awarded a full scholarship studying law at university. And I thought at that time I had life pretty much figured out. But what I lacked at the time was a passion or a desire for what I was studying, as I felt like it was a path that had been laid out for me, as opposed to one that I had any active interest in. So after much deliberation, and to the horror of my mother, I decided to drop out. And at this point, I felt I had nothing, and in essence had lost it all. And what I did have was this chip on my shoulder, wanting to prove all of the doubters wrong, that I could indeed make something of my life. So I secured my first role in the city, and shortly after, I really committed myself to outworking everyone. I was first in, I was last out, and every day of the working week, I had this laser focus on wanting to make my mark on every company that I came across. All the while, I'd always possessed these certain characteristics that all of these early life experiences had shaped and ultimately became pivotal in getting me out of this dark hole that I was in. And this is when I became intentional about seeking to understand what it was that was in me that took me from this McDonald's worker and this university dropout to an elite sales professional and recent graduate. And this takes us on to the question you've all actually been waiting for. What are these 3 characteristics you can't teach any salesperson? And to me, they're drive, passion, and hunger. But you might be wondering what this actually means for the profession. So I like to break salespeople out into 2 buckets. You've got the 5% and the 95%, with the 5% representing the elite and the 95 representing the remainder. And a core component of what separates the 5% from the 95 are those unteachable characteristics that I just referenced. So you might be wondering what this means for the 95. Does this mean that they can never become the elite? Well, not necessarily. Because if you think about it, as much as you can't teach someone those characteristics, what you can do is ignite in yourself or ignite in others those things that reconnect you to your why and your sense of purpose. So the reason that I shared my story with you as an example of really how your early life experiences may indeed be the fuel that you need to ignite your own fire. I've previously spoken about in other articles on LinkedIn, the science of sales, and the fact that you can teach anyone the systems, the tools, and the processes to reach a reasonable level of competence in sales. But the difference with the 5% is that as much as they have those unteachable characteristics, they combine them with an excellent proficiency at the skills which you can teach. Things such as emotional intelligence, interpersonal skills, and sales process. So as much as there's certain skills that can be taught, naturally an individual's ability to onboard those learnings and execute against them varies greatly. So top tier sales professionals are able to absorb and implement those learnings effectively while demonstrating consistency and delivering time and time again. So whenever interviewing or looking to learn from other salespeople, I'm always looking out for those innate capabilities as opposed to just focusing on the functional skills. And as much as they both have a role to play, modeling yourself on someone who already has the key ingredients that will motivate them over time can play a vital role in ensuring you're hiring or working alongside a potential star of the future. So whenever you're thinking about how you can tap into that additional layer of your capability, consider whether you've ignited your unteachable characteristics to maximize your own potential. Claire, I wanted to say thanks so much for such a generous introduction. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I look forward to your questions. Thanks so much.